Hi. Had a few days or close to a week I suppose on body alignment, which I shall throw the body on in a bit and I'll show you what I've been playing with. We have made the body fixings for the front windscreen surround, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4 brackets and I welded there and then rivet nutted to the chassis. Finalised the welding a little bit all around here, still got to tighten that up because effectively that was a tube here, so I've got to kind of remove that, plug it up. 2 brackets there, hold the power steering motor, 2 more brackets here. Managed to make those brackets also, you can see the holes underneath here, mount the dash or the instrument cluster, which is nice. This is the top piece there, 2 slotted parts where the spring-loaded clips in for the original dash, so the GT3 dash goes in there. Now the dash was finalised, I could reinstate this tube, obviously the same tube that was there, but I took it out because it originally mounted on this face. We were struggling to get the dash dials in. I could come out, which obviously gave me more room here because it's obviously diagonal, but that got too close to the steering wheel and would start interfering with the indicators and the stalks on the column. So I had to push it far enough back that everything would be correct here, but then this bar was in the way. So we removed the bar, now reinstated the bar, obviously CDS, 1.25 inch, same as the other side, but we just curled the end, put it in the tube bender and bent it so that it mates mainly on the outside edge. We did actually chop just notch slightly the back side of the left-hand gauge pod, just enough so that this bar would still fit in the bodywork. You don't see it anyway, it gets all covered up, so realistically it's kind of superfluous if it looks a bit different to the other side, but I wanted it so that it was maxed in as close to the gauge pod as possible. So we're in now, so gauges like that, so we're gonna see it up. We look there. There we go. Dash pod in, steering column in and solid. Now you can see how close we are here to the dials. Reasonable spacing here to fit the switchgear, and just a small notch of the inside of there, which you can see just overlaps, gets me clearance for this tube. So next thing was to have grab handles. To pull this stuff up out of the seat, yes, I know I'm getting old, but 2 grab handles here. Oh, it adds a little bit of structure, but probably not a huge amount. 2 grab handles there, one for driver, one for passenger. Now, to continue the load path of these 2 bars, which was kind of a distance away from here, we barred up to there, so basically these 2 then kind of conform nicely into one, and the same again that side. Obviously the car was original, the roll cage was originally left-hand drive, so I effectively had the diagonal bar from here up to there. It's now been converted to left-hand drive, so technically we've reinstated the diagonal head brace for the driver. This bulkhead point here will be pocketed in a little bit to allow for the cant of the seat to go back a little bit further into this area, but realistically there should be a probably have to weld some tabs on here, but realistically there'll be an aluminium bulkhead across there with just a recess in here for the drivers. For the taller drivers, or as I like to call them, the abnormal versions. There we go. So that's the welding that's been done over the last couple of days. Just these big tubes that are a real pain to notch. Those were massively a pain, mainly because I just can't notch, obviously, on a curve. So there's like almost 45 minutes of grinding on each one of these bars to get this shape there, pretty close for welding up. But anyway, yes, pretty much the roll cage now is done. A little bit of final welding on the inside, but to be honest, before the cage is sent away, the powder coating, then I've been going over it with the 5-tooth comb and be able to roll it upside down there, and obviously without all the suspension and engine and stuff on, it'd be a lot easier to weld up. So just produce myself a list on my Nova board of places I know that will need welding, mark them with a tag so I know I can go over them before it's sent away. So yes, the body is the next piece of fun. Let's find a convenient place to put this. Right, body fit. By mounting the front windscreen solid and doing a trial fit of the windscreen, albeit the windscreen does need a little tweak, but it's hardly anything really, Thomas. Shouldn't be too much of a headache. The aperture of the windscreen is pretty good, so I'm happy with that. Now I've had to twist this screen aperture to get it reasonably level. As you can see, but there's actually a laser level light here at the moment. We were up here and down there, so it was like this, but the two back corners, this kind of apex corner here, are pretty close, within like 2 mil, so well, I'll be happy within 5 mil, to be honest. So this corner here had to be pulled down and that pushed up slightly to get the fit. So there's a few more fixings on that aperture than probably would normally need. We've got 2 across the top, 2 around the front, and I'll probably have to put 1 more here just to give this a tweak, just to get this point here into where it should be. So but you know, it's doable, it's not bad. Front clip's pretty good actually. I was quite happy. The line along here and the line along there, it marries the body and it's level and it's the right offset left to right, so the wheels distance from the wheel to wheel arch is the same on both sides. There's no rotors on this thing at the moment, so technically the wheels are inboard by about, I think it's about 6 to 8 millimeters at the rotor thicknesses. So basically they're inboard a little bit more than they would be. Not by much, but you know, obviously a little bit further out would look a little bit nicer. But yeah, so that's pretty good. I'm happy with that. Turn this thing off. I've got a tendency of leaving it on overnight. 9-volt batteries aren't overly cheap. Yes, let's get to the bad points. This panel you see here, obviously it's impossible to mold this panel with that piece there, which is what it's attached to, in one. So it's done in 2 pieces. This top half here is bonded on afterwards, and then the inside wheel arch and this sill section is another piece. When it's bonded on, it's been bonded on at the wrong angle. It's basically, I had a gap here at the door from 0 to close to 1 inch, and as you can see by, if I do that, this shape here is bad, but then this corner here is way too acute and now basically is almost vertical, whereas it needs to be laying down. And pushing that out to get like that, it wants to split it. So I've had to push this part of the bodywork out to straighten this panel. I'm still not too sure whether it's where they're bonded together, where the exact problem is, or whether it's this. There it's twisted as it's been left or however, so I've got to find out which one it is, and then one of them will have to be chopped. And you can ignore the door gap down the front, because that's, I think the door itself is curling like that, so the door gap isn't that far off. This along here isn't bad. Neither's here, neither's there, and unfortunately the door sticks up about 1/4 inch or so there. Realistically this wants to be about 1/4 inch down, so there's, when you shut the door, it actually creates a bit of pressure. When you push the lock and engage the lock in, it puts pressure on the seal. It's not that way, and as much as I try to negotiate things around to get that to sit that way, I basically have to lift the back rear bodywork up 2 inches, and it would look stupid. And all the body lines now on this panel to the rear aren't bad. As it sits at the moment, they are pretty good splines, i.e. when you run a curved shape on it, then this line here is just a nice, almost straight with a minor curve. This point here is obviously a shallow dip to the back. Where it is at the moment, they're all good, and actually the rear clip, when you push it up to it, is an even gap all the way across. So if I left that center section exactly as it is now, I'm still going to have this rise here. So and this door there is originally level to that. It's just this curve here has gone out. Now this door is obviously double skinned, and it could be where, you know, this is obviously quite a flimsy panel otherwise, it could be where they've bonded the two skins together, so I might just have to separate the two skins, pull it down, put it where I want it, and then redo the two skins. Worst case scenario, I've got to cut the inner skin around the back here and pull the door down. Not a huge biggie, not bad anyway. The door itself is pretty flat along here. There's mine around on the other side, which I'll probably go do the same thing, separate the skins. So yes, okay, there's a gap down here, but I don't know, it's just been over trimmed. So as much as there's lots of oddities around here and the gaps look kind of odd, realistically all those are workable, and that's okay roughly where it is. It's just the door itself isn't particularly too brilliant. I'm going to say that could have easily been just one. The two skins were put together. This side, this panel here on this side isn't bad. Now this is just sitting as it would be, so there's plenty of room to move this around, get around the gaps, and to move this up. I've got to make some mounting points in the body here. There isn't a huge amount of a lip to make stuff to, so I'm probably going to end up fiberglassing some new tabs and some mounting points in there. Maybe even putting a aluminium bar in there to get a nice threaded section to allow me to mount that up. So yeah, I've got some work to do with those, but I've got to get these panels sorted. Windscreen's this is pretty much as it's got to be now. This now marry up to that will be the next stage. Once these two panels are done, then I can get to the good stuff. I can get the door hinge here mounted. But obviously that panel's got to be in the right place for me to get that done. And then this mount here, I shall go back to the aluminium frame, make sure it's strong from there so it doesn't move around. Yeah, once I get that done, I can quickly machine my billet top mounts, and I can get the door hung. Right, this point here. This one's been a bit disappointing. So just push the body up. There we go. To get a spline, like I said, doesn't have to be straight. It just has to be a nice slowing curve. If you look along there now, the biggest deviation is probably about 2 millimeters. So 80 grit blocking, take off the high points, you know, a light skim of filler and low points, and we're pretty good there. Same with along here. Once that body is sat to there, that's a pretty good spline as well. So the rear clip to mount to that is pretty good. And once you push it up, that gap's even pretty good. So I'm pretty happy with that. The body's obviously sagged a little bit. As you can see, the rear clip does this and that, where the joint point is. But basically the rear body's just kind of gone apart like that. I've just got to bring it back together and leave it for a while, leave it out in the hot midday sun. It should recenter itself. There'll be location pins anyway in the bulkhead or where that flange is. So when it goes in, they marry up. So rear clip, not bad. Now, by correcting the angle of this, basically getting this to be a spline to that, you can see what it's done to the door. Nothing to, probably about 3/8 of an inch. 3/8 of an inch is to nothing to about 1/4 inch. So this door gap here is wrong. Now the door's sitting pretty flat and parallel. The angles seem to be comparable to the other side. Obviously it's not totally symmetric, so I'm only guessing as such by putting the angle finder on various points. If I correct this gap here, which I can do, and I can get that a nice even gap all the way down, this angle here, this panel here, effectively lifts this corner up, because we've got to push away here, obviously, to get a bigger gap there, and pull back here. So basically you're twisting the panel like that. By doing that, this comes up. So I've got to make my mind up whether I've got to leave it as it is at the moment, set, and then trim basically down here, pull the gaps back up, and then rebond this to that, or set so the door gap is right and then cut along here, probably in 2 places, and pull that back to where it should be. the lesser work on this, to be honest, is to get the door gap right. Basically what would be involved would be cutting down here, pulling that back, pulling this forward, pretty much just dicing, pretty much all the way along, about an inch out, all the way along up to the top there, and then correcting the gaps, aluminium rivet plating it, and then fiberglassing it from the outside and then from the inside. It's a couple of days work, but to get everything to sit right now, and more importantly to get a spline here, to get the large flat surfaces of the body correct, and then I can screw around with the door gap. So okay, it's a lot of cutting and fiberglassing, but I'd sooner do that than have to redo all the rear. Got to decide whether we need this scoop. Still not sure whether we do or not. Definitely going to be a rear view camera somewhere kind of here, pointing back. The car's low enough at the back basically so we can have a rear view mirror, which will be a camera. But if you ever had a camera back at the back end of the car as you're driving along, the kind of exhaust gases and whatever else, crud and whatever builds up on the camera lens. So it's nice to have a camera at the top there, where there's a nice constant airflow on almost a vacuum around the camera. So I'll probably end up placing that just to start that NACA duct. But yes, that's it's coming along. It's just the bodywork's going to be a slow process. Building the chassis, it's pretty easy, pretty direct. You cut a tube, you put it in, you notch it, you weld it in, looks great. Progress. Bodywork is you can spend hours just getting one panel flat, and it doesn't really make a huge amount of difference, or doesn't seem to. The sides, if you can kind of look down there, it's hard to tell, but basically they're kind of like this all over the place. There's probably large surface areas of this that I may end up bonding a new completely flat piece of fiberglass in. Just basically doing a flat sheet. So something like this.